Hello and greetings. This video is a Game Master's Guide of Episode 8, titled, In the Emperor's Name, of the Traveler Campaign, Secrets of the Ancients. This video is the 9th video, in a series of 11 videos. I would recommend watching the first 8 videos, before this one. Welcome to the RPGmodsFan spaceship. I am Peaches, and I will be your guide through the 8th episode/adventure of the Traveler, Secrets of the Ancients campaign. Let me just state that the 8th episode is one of the better adventures in the sourcebook. Before, RPGmodsFan has been a little harsh in his critique of the campaign and sourcebook. As a reminder, in the Traveler RPG system, the Game Master is called the referee. However, I will refer to them as the Game Master instead. The adventure takes place back within the Spinward Marches of charted space, whereas the previous 2 adventures did not. Just to avoid spoilers, I will not mention where or when the prior 2 adventures took place. I will now discuss the episode/adventure itself, and this video will contain spoilers. Unless you are a game master who will be running this adventure for their players, or are a player who already played through this adventure and are watching this video for nostalgia purposes, I would suggest not to watch the rest of this video. Previously on Secrets of the Ancients. With the death of Grandfather Yaskoidre, his pocket universe starts collapsing. The travelers barely escape the collapsing universe in a primitive rickety space capsule through a teleportal, leaving 7 trapped in the collapsing universe. Due to inadequate shielding on their space capsule, the travelers are rendered unconscious as they pass through the portal. The 8th adventure/episode of the Secrets of the Ancients campaign is titled, In the Emperor's Name. The adventure's synopsis would be as follows. The travelers regain consciousness and find themselves on board a prison ship. They are interrogated about past events and about the ancients. The travelers need to either escape the prison hulk or convince Imperial Intelligence Agent Teresa to trust them. I would summarize the adventure as follows. After escaping the extra-dimensional apocalypse of Grandfather's pocket universe, the unconscious travelers, in their rickety craft, are back in the Bugin system, with a menacing Imperial capital warship looming above them. The travelers are taken prisoner and transported to the Gaerth, a secret prison facility in the Pixie system, which is a Kinunir-class ship. There, they are interrogated by Intelligence Agent Teresa, Malik Hort-Tarvel, a noble, and Galen, a powerful scion. Arisa wants to understand what exactly happened at the gas giant Komesh in the Bugin system and the fate of the Alahir, an Imperial ship commanded by her now deceased superior, Gand Holses. In the meantime, Grandfather's consciousness begins to awaken in the traveler hosting Grandfather's memories and backup. That traveler will eventually learn that Seven's family archive and backup is in the youth subsector of the Gverden sector, which is in Varga-controlled space. The travelers can either cooperate with the interrogations and ally themselves with Imperial intelligence, or escape the prison. The Gaerth imprisons political prisoners. Escaping the ship will take immense ingenuity and good fortune. In this adventure, the travelers' past is catching up with them. A number of ghosts from their past are shaping the events that the travelers will experience in this adventure. In addition, there are a number of new and colorful array of non-player characters the travelers will interact with in this adventure. One way or another, all the travelers had a connection with Uncle Vlen Baquet. Uncle Baquet had a number of aliases, one of them being the crime lord Ven Yasha. Uncle Baquet was actually a spy for the ancient being, Seven. In secret, the Imperium government fears the return of the ancients, and one division of the Imperial intelligence was set up to combat the ancient conspiracy. This division suspected Uncle Baquet and had him under surveillance. During the beginning of Secrets of the Ancients campaign, the mysterious murder of Ven Yasha has drawn the attention of the Imperial intelligence to the travelers, as well as the many events that have followed it. The Imperial intelligence have many questions about Len Baquet, crime boss Ven Yasha, the ancients, and the many unexplainable events. Questions that they want the travelers to answer, and their involvement in the ancient conspiracy. Grandfather's renegade son, Seven, has went to great lengths to find and destroy Grandfather. Once Seven was in Grandfather's pocket universe and had killed him, Grandfather's contingency plan went into effect. Grandfather's pocket universe started collapsing, and the travelers managed to escape it in a primitive space capsule. Grandfather, basically, sacrificed his pocket universe and all its inhabitants to trap Seven within the collapsing universe and destroy this version of him in the process. However, its complete collapse will take 3 months. And, like all ancients with immense power, Seven has a backup version of himself, waiting to be resurrected. Basically, Seven is the real villain and the main antagonist of the Secrets of the Ancients campaign. Although the ancient Droin, Grandfather Yaskoidre, has perished, he has backed up his memories into one of the travelers. These memories have lain dormant in the traveler, who was unaware that such memories exist within them. During the course of this adventure, the traveler holding Grandfather's backup will experience 3 dreams. While the traveler is dreaming, Grandfather is in control of the character's body. Thus, these dreams can occur even when the traveler is not asleep. After each dream, the traveler will gain ability points and skills. In the first dream, the traveler sees a future event occurring. He or she sees Grandfather's pocket universe collapsing into a singularity, along with crushing Seven into nothingness. In the second dream, the traveler again sees a vision of the future. They see the resurrection of Seven and feels his wrath. Once Seven's resurrection is complete, he will rain his wrath down on human Itai. After the dream, the traveler gains psionic ability. If he or she is already a scion, they then become a stronger scion. In the third dream, the traveler experiences the true purpose of Grandfather's failed secret weapon's blast against Seven. Grandfather's secret weapon was really a mind scanner. A quantum-entangled portion of the traveler's subconscious was sent in the beam of the blast to Seven. This quantum-entangled subconscious was able to uncover the location of Seven's family archive, where his resurrection will take place. The family archive is located on a garden world in the youth subsector of known space in a region controlled by the Vaga. Thus, the traveler's new and main objective, now, is to find Seven's family archive before his resurrection. So, basically, over the course of this episode, the travelers need to learn that one of the party has become host to a copy of Grandfather. They already know Seven is still trapped within the collapsing pocket universe. However, the travelers now learn that Seven will be resurrected by his family archive if he dies within the pocket universe. The only way to defeat the renegade ancient is to destroy his family archive. Grandfather managed to extract the location of the family archive from Seven's mind before Grandfather was killed. If Grandfather's host is in extreme danger, or if the Game Master needs a Deus Ex Machina to get the characters out of a bad situation that they cannot get themselves out of, then Grandfather can exert himself. Imperial Intelligence Agent Arisa Thalba makes her return in this adventure. The travelers first met Arisa during Uncle Baket's funeral, where she posed as his fiancée. Arisa was probably last seen on the planet Alel, where the travelers made their escape from the Imperial Intelligence Marines. If for some reason she was taken out during a previous adventure, or if she infiltrated the travelers and is now a part of their group, then have Imperial Intelligence Agent Orsio take her place in this adventure. The Game Master should run her very similar to the way they would run Arisa. Originally, Arisa Thalba comes from a tiny, insignificant agricultural world in the distant Delphi sector. Bored with a life bounded by a planetary horizon, she volunteered for the Imperial Scouts, and was given a battered, balky scout ship and a mandate to probe the pocket kingdoms of the Hinterworlds and Leonidae. Her surveys and reports were excellent, and she survived a perilous mission, which brought her to the attention of the Imperium's espionage branch. She was recruited as an Imperial agent and was seen as a rising star within the organization. Soon thereafter, the ancients obsessed, Gand Holses, became her superior. He convinced Arisa that his theories about ancient meddling in imperial affairs were valid and that the Spinward Marches were the epicenter of ancient activity. Her field work in the Spinward Marches has convinced her that many of Holsess's theories are believable. In reality, the remaining ancients are fighting a shadow war across charted space and beyond. Other than finding the locations of other ancients, they are not concerned with or interested in all other denizens of the galaxy, including humanity. Following the events on Alel, Arisa remained behind to further investigate Uncle Vlen Baket's affairs, while Holsess went hunting for the travelers. Holsess caught up with the travelers in the Bugin system, but soon thereafterwards, Seven showed up and blasted Holsess's ship to ashes. Arisa wants to know what happened to her superior and went to the Bugin system. There, she found the travelers unconscious in their primitive space capsule. She then had the Imperial Marines take them prisoner and had them transported to the prison ship, Gaerth. During the interrogations of the travelers, she will be cold and detached. Depending on how believable the travelers are, she will either be terrified of the threat posed by malicious ancients, or will be convinced the travelers are lunatics, who have blundered into an ancient site and are hiding something. If the travelers convince her that the ancients are a threat, she will want to know if they have a way to deal with the threat. Malik Hort-Tarvel comes from a family of immense wealth. He dedicated himself to the study of archaeology and the ancients. However, like any insufferable snobbish noble, he does not like to do field work and get his hands muddy. Instead, he prefers to read numerous archaeological reports. He now works as an expert on the ancients for the Imperial Ministry of Technology. He was placed in the ministry by his Aunt Marie, who is an ambitious admiral in the Imperial Navy. He normally resides on Regina, and he personally knew Professor Eugenia and her assistant Junie Volsang. He has once met Uncle Baket and found him to be an amateur archaeologist and an uncouth trader. The Imperium has a keen interest in gathering as much ancient technology as possible, especially black globes. However, at the same time, the Imperium wants general knowledge of the ancients to be suppressed. Also at the same time, Malik's Aunt Marie wants to know of any ancient discoveries before the Imperium does. Like all past empires, he believes the ancient empire has declined and fell, and that the ancients are no longer active in the galaxy. Upon hearing the travelers' stories, he will most likely think they are deranged madmen, idiot buffoons, and/or are liars. Galen is a powerful scion. In general, the Imperium suppresses the use of psionics and bans the establishments of scion institutes. However, there are two state-controlled, secret schools, where psionics are studied. Galen comes from one of these institutions on distant Terra, where he learned to probe the minds of criminals and traitors. He is uncaring and lacks empathy. Officially, Galen does not exist, holds no title or military rank, and there are no records of him anywhere in the Imperium. However, he holds an imperial warrant, which is extraordinarily rare. The warrant permits him to act in the Emperor's name, thus cutting through any governmental bureaucracy. His mandate is to protect the Imperium against destabilizing forces. His role in the interrogations is to ascertain whether or not the travelers are telling the truth. The Kinunir-class ship, Gaerth, houses a crew of 20. The number of prisoners on board can vary, but the sourcebook describes 9 of them. As of the crew, 6 of them are senior staff and 14 of them are guards. The Gaerth is also known as the Gash. It has 5 decks, starting from Deck A all the way down to Deck E. Upon first stepping foot on the Gash, the guards tell the travelers that the Gaerth does not exist. Thus, the travelers do not exist. Hence, the guards can do whatever they want with them. However, since the Gaerth often imprisons nobles, dignitaries, scientists, and other political prisoners, the guards try to not interact with them. The guards are armed with stunners, body pistols, and cutlasses. Their armor contains a short-term oxygen supply and automatic vacuum seals, so they function as void suits in emergencies. Few of the prisoners are here for long. They are either transferred to a conventional prison facility or released. The Gash is an ugly, broken place to be. Being head warden of a political prison requires a delicate balancing act. Today's disgraced noble might be tomorrow's planetary count, as political fortunes wax and wane. Warden Horberg carefully maintains her distance from the prisoners. She keeps them healthy, safe, and contained. She has managed to tread the line, so far. She is a nervous, cautious woman who avoids confrontation whenever possible. She secretly harbors political ambitions of her own and has been squirreling away useful nuggets of information picked up by the hidden microphones. She may help the travelers if she believes it is in her best interest. Chief Guard Forkrick is an ex-naval officer who was badly injured in a skirmish. Now crippled, he was assigned to the Gaerth as it was seen as an easy position. Forkrick has the disconcerting habit of treating the prison hulk as though it is still a functional ship. No one knows if he yearns to prove he is still fit for duty on board a starship, or if his mind is unsettled. It is uncertain if Admin Clark Pode is staff or a prisoner. He was a clerk over at the Pixie Naval Base, but there were certain irregularities about purchasing orders that went through his desk. Nothing was ever proved, but many suspected that Pode was skimming money off the top. Hence, the Navy transferred him to the Gaerth. Pode finds the prison intensely boring. He knows that the Navy does not trust him and that he will never be given another assignment or allowed to leave. He entertains himself by going down to Deck C and talking to prisoners in the hopes of picking up some useful gossip. The prison's communications clerk is really a deep-cover Jodani agent. Her real name is Zenge. Her entire surface personality is a psionic construct. Her memories, her thoughts, her entire self was engineered to pass Imperial scrutiny, while the real Zenge lurks beneath the surface, manifesting only in dreams or when triggered by circumstances. She is a sleeper agent, created by the Jodani consulate at a young age and smuggled into the Imperium. Zenge's sleeper personality may be triggered if she learns the travelers know about the Ancients. The Jodani consulate have much greater interest in the Ancients than the Imperium. They consider the Ancients to be the architects of their civilization. Hence, Zenge would prefer the travelers to be out of the hands of the Imperium. 2 guards, Cheon and Shiru, were assigned to watch over the travelers. Cheon is a young, impressionable, fresh-faced naval recruit. This is his first tour of duty. Shiru is a veteran Marine on temporary attachment to the Gaerth while she waits for her real assignment, which is to patrol the Jodani border aboard a heavy cruiser. She just wants to get through this assignment without any trouble. She instantly spots the travelers as potential troublemakers and resolves to keep a close eye on them. Chief Guard Forkrick is jealous of her career, and the two argue frequently over petty matters. Baron Vulis is one of 2 prisoners serving a life sentence on the Gaerth. He is the former ruler of a district of Violanta, a world in Aramis subsector. Baron Vulis was an infamous tyrant who was hated by his subjects. He was overthrown by a revolution, and he begged the Imperium for shelter. His request was granted, but as punishment for his crimes, he was secretly sent to the Gaerth. He spends his time reading and composing bad poetry. He shares a cell with Captain Ruater. Captain Ruater is a former captain in the planetary navy of Denotum. He turned pirate and attacked merchant shipping within the independent state of the Federation of Arden. The Imperium hunted him down and arrested him, but allies in the planetary naval managed to arrange for a stay of execution. Ruater will be held in the Gaerth until his fate is decided. Depending on which of his many accusers finally gets custody of him, Captain Ruater knows that an appointment with the gallows, or the firing squad, or the airlock awaits him. Thus, he is desperate to escape. Thoic Apshar is a journalist and a writer for news feeds and journals on Regina. She specializes in military analysis and new technologies. Ironically, it was her series of reports on the lackluster performance of the Kinunir class that dragged that debacle into the public eye and led to the cancellation of the 4 final vessels in the original production run of 24 ships. She also correctly speculated that the Kinunir class ships was being used as a testbed for a new defense system. Unknown to her, the defense system are the ancient derived black globes. A few years later, she unwittingly stumbled upon one of the Imperium's most closely guarded secrets of a network of sensor platforms being used to spy upon Jodani space. The Imperial authorities assumed someone must have leaked this ultra-secure military secret to the journalist, so Miss Apshar was arrested and detained until she reveals her source. The article was suppressed. While Miss Apshar claims she has no insider knowledge of the project, the security services are unconvinced of her innocence, so she is being detained at the Emperor's pleasure, without trial, and without any limits on the length of her incarceration. Evan Hortuishir is the fourth son of the Count of Belion. He is also the serial killer, called the Laughing Man, responsible for the deaths of 16 women and the maiming of 6 others. When the police finally identified the eccentric young noble as the killer, the Count arranged for his son to be taken off-world and incarcerated in the Gaerth. As far as the population of New Rome know, popular young Evan is off on the grand tour of the core worlds. Evan is kept locked up in solitary confinement and is considered too dangerous to use the gym or any other facilities on the prison hulk. He is charming and charismatic, is an adept liar, and has considerable cybernetic and genetic augmentation. Take, Yarlin and Osvok are smugglers and drug dealers. They were captured by the Imperial Navy and are being temporarily held on the Gaerth until sentencing. They have no idea about Imperial politics, the ancients, spies, or anything else. They are just thugs who got caught. Back in Episode 1, Gaius Laber was one of the thugs of Ven Yasha's criminal organization sent to assassinate Professor Eugenia on Regina. He carried an ancient device that shuts down electronics in a short-range radius. He was captured by the Imperial intelligence and brought to the Gaerth for questioning. The ancient artifact was confiscated and is now being held in a storeroom on Deck B. He has no idea about ancients, Imperial intelligence, or pangalactic conspiracies. He has been held on the prison hulk for months, with no trial and no hope of release. He thinks the travelers are enemies of the state, and thinks the authorities mistakenly think he is part of the travelers' gang. Thus, he blames the travelers for his current predicament. I will now go through the adventure's timeline of events. My apologies in advance. I will be repeating some things I have already mentioned before. After escaping the extra-dimensional apocalypse, the unconscious travelers, in their rickety craft, are back in the Bugin system. A menacing Imperial capital warship looms above them. Then, under the orders of Imperial intelligence agent Arisa, Imperial Marines board the travelers' primitive space capsule. The Marines take the unconscious travelers, as well as anyone else on board, to their ship, which then jumps to the Pixie system. When the travelers regain consciousness, they are on board a cramped shuttle and are manacled to their chairs. Except for their clothing and footwear, they have been stripped of all their weapons, armor, equipment, and gear. They are brought to the Gaerth, a battered Imperium prison ship. Awaiting for their arrival is the Imperial intelligence agent, Arisa. Arisa informs the travelers that, at the Emperor's pleasure, they are being detained on board the prison ship, Gaerth. They will be questioned on their activities since the death of Vlen Baquet on Regina. If the travelers cooperate with her, there is every chance they will be granted a pardon and be freed. If the travelers are not violent or argumentative, they will be permitted to share a large cell and given basic liberties while incarcerated. Otherwise, if they are difficult, then their time on board the Gaerth will not be pleasant. Arisa escorts the travelers to their communal cell. The travelers have several hours to discuss their predicament, meet the other prisoners in the gym or recreation area, and explore Deck C of the Gaerth. There are hidden microphones throughout the ship, and the travelers' conversations are being eavesdropped on, in hopes that they will give away their secrets. A series of onboard events will occur. As a game master, I have the first 4 occur before the travelers are interrogated. However, the game master is free to choose when and in what order they occur in. While the travelers are discussing their predicament, I would have the first onboard ship event occur, which is the brownout event. The Gaerth is an old ship and has had problems since it was launched. These problems reoccur periodically in the form of brownouts. Basically, this event shows that the Gaerth is an old, neglected, rust bucket. I would have the second onboard ship event, which is the prison brawl event, occur when the travelers visit the ship's gym for the first time. Upon seeing the travelers, Gaius Labor, a thug that was captured back during the events of episode 1 of the campaign, flings a dumbbell at one of the guards assigned to the travelers and flings himself at the travelers with the intent on killing them. Some hours afterwards, the third onboard ship event occurs, which is the processing event. There is a minor irregularity in one of the travelers' personal records. That traveler is brought to B-deck by the guards, where he or she meets Warden Horberg and communications clerk Sampson, who review the case. The fourth onboard ship event then occurs several hours afterwards, which is the arrival of Scion Galen. Upon boarding, he heads to the cell the travelers are being held in. He silently stands outside their cell for a few moments, watching them, and then departs. The interrogations of the travelers start the next morning. Arisa, Hort Tarvel, and Galen attempt to learn what the travelers know about the ancients. There are 3 phases to the interrogation, which takes place on Deck D of the ship. Firstly, Arisa and Hort Tarvel interrogate the travelers as a group. Secondly, the travelers are split up and interrogated individually. Thirdly, if the interrogators are still not satisfied, Galen telepathically probes each of the travelers. During the first interrogation, Hort Tarvel will do most of the talking. He and Arisa want the travelers to describe everything that happened since they received the message of Len Baquet's death. They want to know, how do the travelers know Len Baquet? What happened at Professor Eugenica's house on Regina? How did they find the ancient vessel at Bugin? What happened on Bugin? What happened in the Pocket Universe? What do the ancients want? How active are the ancients in the modern universe? I would then have the 5th onboard ship event occur next, which is the supply run event. On a regular basis, a supply shuttle from the Pixel Naval Base arrives. It is customary for some of the best behaved prisoners to help with unloading the cargo. The Game Master should pick 2 or 3 travelers who have not made a nuisance of themselves to help unload the cargo. They are made to carry heavy loads up to Deck A. As they do so, they will get a better idea of the layout of the prison hulk. The next day, the travelers' party is then split up, and each of them is interrogated individually. Arisa's sole aim is finding out the truth. She asks the travelers about their interactions with Len Baquet, Gand Holses, and the ancients. Malik Hort Tarvel's goal is to prove his false theories about the ancients. If the travelers speak truthfully, he will then look to expose them as liars. Like Arisa, Galen's goal is to find out the truth. However, he will be more sinister in his approach. He wants to divide the travelers, expose weaknesses within the group, and sow discontent within it. He will use his telepathic powers on any non-psionic characters to pick up secrets from the characters' minds. I would have the 6th onboard ship event occur soon afterwards. Guard Cheon falls sick while on duty outside the traveler's cell. He is suffering from a lung disease called pixie dust. I would have the 7th and last onboard ship event occur the next morning, prior to the 3rd round of interrogations of the travelers. Using his telepathic abilities, Galen is able to identify communications clerk Kala Sampson as a Jodani spy. Galen has her arrested and thrown into a prison cell. If the travelers talk to Zenge, Sampson's Jodani sleeper self, they get more information about the prison. Zenge may even accompany the travelers once they escape the prison. She offers them sanctuary in the Jodani consulate once Grandfather is dealt with. After all the travelers have been individually interrogated, on the next day, the 3rd round of interrogations takes place. By this point, Galen believes both Grandfather and Seven are a threat to the Imperium. If not uncovered before, then he suspects one of the travelers are hosting Grandfather. If any of the travelers has expressed fear or doubt about the ancients and or the character hosting Grandfather, those travelers are brought to the interrogation room and offered a deal by Galen. He instructs these travelers to help Grandfather put his plan to defeat Seven into action. Galen will arrange for the travelers to be allowed to escape from the prison, and these travelers should then stick close to Grandfather's host and help him defeat Seven once and for all. Afterwards, these travelers are to kill Grandfather, meaning the character hosting Grandfather. He then promises them to be rewarded beyond their wildest dreams. If they refuse, the travelers are placed into solitary confinements. Then Galen orders for Grandfather's host to be brought to him, and he will then try to assassinate him with a Gauss pistol. It is assumed the travelers will actively seek to escape the Gaesh. Thus the prior events may not occur as outlined. Nevertheless, Arisa can help the travelers escape the prison hulk if they are able to convince her of their good intentions. Basically, the travelers need to convince Arisa that they are not insane, that they are not pawns of the ancients, that Seven killed Gand Holses, and that Seven is the real threat. Actually, if the travelers are able to convince both Arisa and Galen to aid them, then there is no need for an escape attempt. Instead, they are officially freed and given a scout ship. All their equipment is returned to them, and they get an imperial warrant under the condition that they put an end to both Seven and Grandfather. Escaping the Gaesh is a difficult prospect. The travelers need to break out of their prison cells, deal with the guards, and then find a jump-capable ship. Just as a memo, the guards use their stunners first in any fight, before switching to using lethal force. The easiest way to escape the Gaesh is to have inside help, such as from Arisa, Galen, and/or another NPC. Some of the assistance they can provide include disabling security cameras and/or cell magnetic locks, sneaking weapons to the travelers, sneaking the ancient technology damper on Deck D to the travelers, arranging for a scout ship to visit the prison hulk at an opportune time, misdirecting guards or ordering them to stand down, and/or sabotaging security systems. As a Deus Ex Machine solution, the Game Master can activate Grandfather within the traveler hosting him or her, and have Grandfather use his psionic and technological skills to help the travelers escape. This episode of the campaign ends when the travelers have managed to get on board a jump-capable scout ship, one they mostly likely have managed to commandeer, and are off in pursuit of Seven's family archive. For this episode, the campaign book provides maps of all 5 decks of the Kinyunir-class ship, the Gaesh, which is in orbit around a gas giant in the Pixie solar system. The main world, Pixie, is a small vacuum world inhabited by miners. Its major settlement surrounds the huge, busy starport and naval base on the planet. Originally, the Gaesh was built to be an imperial battle cruiser. It was designed to house a black globe, an ancient defensive screen. However, the Regina shipbuilders were unsuccessful in incorporating the black globe to the ship, resulting in a number of significant problems. Hence, the Gaesh was decommissioned, stripped of all her weapons and engines, and converted into a prison ship. Today, the Gaesh is an ugly, broken place to be. I will now, briefly, walk through each deck of the Gaesh. Deck A, the topmost deck, is mostly used for storage, such as crates of freeze-dried food, water, toiletries, and other supplies. At the stern of the deck is a sealed airlock. On the forward port side is the one functional system on this deck, the ship's garbage desiccation and disposal system. Inmates are rarely permitted on this deck, except for trusted prisoners who are permitted to work on the garbage disposal or collect cargo from the storage bays. The aft observation deck was once dominated by the huge window. Huge armor plates now cover it and are locked into place. Deck B was once the ship's bridge, admin hub, and officers' quarters. The bridge has been converted to an observation room. From here, the crew can watch video feeds and listen to the bugs in the prison cells, as well as throughout the rest of the ship. The top middle section houses the ship's computer, communications, administration, and sensor operations, rooms, as well as the ship's galley and officers' mess. The ship's galley prepares food for both the crew and the prisoners. The bottom sections house the quarters for the ship's crew and guards, as well as guest staterooms for Arisa, Malik, and Galen. The electronically locked storeroom contains items confiscated from the prisoners. including the traveler's gear and equipment, and Gaius Labor's ancient suppression device, which is able to suppress electronic and electrical devices. The prison cells are located on Deck C. In addition to security cameras, all of the cells are wired with hidden microphones. Each cell contains 2 bunks, a sink, and a small fold-out table. The travelers are placed in one of the larger cells. There are also rooms with a display screen for watching a limited selection of videos. The ship's infirmary or sick bay is located on Deck C. The prison lacks a doctor, but there is AutoDoc for providing first aid and medical care. Knowing RPGmodsFan the way I do, he would prefer to have a female android, such as the one in the D&D S4 Expedition to the Barrier Peaks module, treating him instead of an AutoDoc. Especially if the android were to look like Dr. Beverly Crusher. If the patient's condition is more serious, then a naval doctor from the Pixie Naval Base will be flown in. Deck C also has a well-equipped gym with treadmills, weights machines, exercise bikes, and even a fencing piste for imprisoned nobles. The ship's docking bay, where the travelers first set foot onto the Gaerth, is also located on Deck C. A supply shuttle visits the prison every 3 days, bringing fresh water and food. These supplies are unloaded here and carried up to the storerooms on Deck A. Prisoner transfers happen more rarely. When a prisoner shuttle arrives, all current inmates are ordered to return to their cells. Due to the gas giant below, the Pixie Naval Base performs training exercises for Scout-class ships. On occasion, the Scout ships do dock with the Gaerth. Deck D was once the ship's primary weapons deck. It now is uninhabited and largely unused. However, the interrogations of the travelers will take place in one of the rooms of this deck. Deck E once contained the ship's cargo bays, magazines, fuel tanks, and machine shops. Now, the whole deck has been sealed off. This adventure is designed to be a break between the weird and alien adventures in Grandfather's Pocket universe and the final battle with Seven in the next 2 adventures. Other than a possible violent prison escape, the adventure is more role-playing heavy. The In the Emperor's Name episode is one of the better adventures in the sourcebook. It provides maps of the prison ship, the Gaerth, and it provides details of the NPCs the travelers will interact with. It tries to anticipate what the travelers will do, and the sourcebook suggests ways of handling such situations. However, the sourcebook does not railroad the player characters. It leaves it up to them to figure how to escape the Gaerth, giving them freedom in their decisions and choices. This is what makes this episode one of the more fun and better ones in the Secrets of the Ancients campaign. If you have any ideas on how to make this adventure even better, please share them in the comments below. Next week, I will provide a walkthrough of the next episode, The Dark Gate. Thank you for watching, from all of us at the RPGmodsFan spaceship. Hope this video has been informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like feedback, and we try to respond to as many comments as we can. Till next time, on behalf of RPGmodsFan, I am Peaches, saying cheers, have a good day, and goodbye.
Magic